So I'm starting the webinar now. So I'm starting the webinar now. Yeah, we're live and we are also live on our YouTube channel.
So we'll just wait for, then we'll begin.
Hi, just doing a quick audio check.
Yeah,
Because
we
I
can
can't
hear
hear
you fine.
anyone. Okay,
We
great.
can hear
Awesome.
you
Thank
fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I think we should begin now. I'm optimistic that people will keep joining in, as it is, we as Indians have a tendency of arriving at occasions late. So firstly, I request everyone to please check your audio and your mics, and I request everyone to keep it turned off so that by chance we do not disrupt the speaker and the guests today. Welcome, very welcome to all on behalf of the administration of Hindu College, as well as our beloved principal ma'am. My name is Tanishk and I am the president of Caucus, the discussion forum of Hindu College. And this session is being organized in collaboration and association with King's College London. And we have Miss Palak Behel, and I am hopeful that Miss Dolan will also join us very soon. So Caucus is the discussion forum of Hindu College, and we are a student society. And our activities include discussions with eminent personalities, roundtable discussions, article writing, and so on. Recently, we have announced a collaboration with King's College London. And a few months ago, we had a session on writing personal statements and the other nitty-gritties of foreign education. This is the second edition of that series. And today's series has more of a personal touch to the session. We'll be knowing about the journeys of three Delhi University alumni who have made it from TU to the global field. And rightfully so, today's session has been named From DU to a Global Field, a Dip into Foreign Education. I'm really grateful for Ms. Chojar. I hope I have got your name right. And Ms. Dabas, who are joining us today, along with Ms. Chandra. Ms. Chojar is an international corporate and commercial lawyer who is currently working in the Delhi High Court, as well as Ms. Dabas is a corporate communications lead working at Zomato. And she also has a range of other initiatives which Hindu College can be proud of. And we are really happy and grateful to have expert professionals who are reflecting both Hindu College and Delhi University at a global level. Now, I think I've done my bit, and I will just hand over the rest of the session to Ms. Palak Behel, who represents King's College. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Tanish, for setting the stage, and welcome everyone to the session. And I'm very, very happy to also welcome our alumni who've joined us today and taken out the time on a working day to just disseminate knowledge that will be very helpful if you're looking to apply for an institution abroad. So how the session will go is that I will be doing a very short presentation, about 10 minutes, just to give you a broad overhead about Kings. And then I will be inviting our guest, one each, so they can share their story with you. And towards the end of the session, I will encourage you to ask as many questions as you want. Big, small, silly questions, doesn't matter. As long as it's helping you in your journey to study abroad, we will be very, very happy to answer those questions for you. So yeah, and Tanish has introduced me very briefly, but yeah, I'm just going to add 2 lines there. So I'm Palak, and I'm the international officer with Kings, and I'm currently based out of India. So that's very, very briefly about me. So yeah, going into the presentation now, I will be sharing my screen, and I hope it is visible. Right. So introductions are done. I will be starting with a very short video, and then we will go into some details into the presentation.
Where will a master's from King's College London take you? Whether you want to advance your career, change industry or profession, follow your passion, or make a difference, King's can help you. With over 300 graduate courses taught by world-renowned academics and leading industry players, King's is also home to cutting-edge research, making a positive impact. King's is ranked top 5 in the UK for graduate employability. Studying at King's offers unrivaled networking opportunities, access to high-profile events, world-class facilities, and a global community with global connections, all in the heart of London. Take the next step. Extraordinary futures begin at King's. For more information, visit kcl.ac.uk/postgraduate. Where will a
Right, so that was a very, very short video from my end. I will just be jumping into some details about the presentation now. And the whole idea is just to give you a very, very macro perspective. And if you need any further details, there's of course a website, and we will also be very happy to answer any questions in the end. So just a broad overview about the King's community. We are a large university with close to about 34,000 to 35,000 students across different campuses, and of course, across different study levels that we have. And interestingly, about 50% of that number is international students, represented from about 185 different countries. So that's truly a very, very global atmosphere that we have at the King's campus. And we have close to about 500 to 600 students at the different King's campuses across UG, PG, and of course PhD. So that I feel is a good number to make you feel within your own community, but also at the same time be amongst students and friends and faculties and staff from 100 plus different countries. That's truly a global exposure, I would say. This is a slide that might seem very populated. I'll just take you through this and spend a minute on this one. So this is about our location. So for those of you who don't know, King's is located right in the heart of central London. And of course, we'll hear more about this from our alumni who'll share their experiences about how important it is as a location to when you're choosing a study abroad destination, because that definitely plays a catalyst in your overall experience and exposure that you get. So King's has 5 campuses in the heart of central London. All the red boxes that you see on the screen are all either campuses or hospitals or libraries that are owned and managed by King's. So all the red boxes with subjects mentioned are, of course, the campuses where those particular subjects are taught. And where you will be based depends, of course, what you choose to study. And this will be mentioned on the course page on the website. And you might also be based at 2 different campuses at some times, depending on what course electives are taught at what campus. So this is broadly about our location. This might seem a little spread out on the screen, but they're all within short bus rides and walking distance from each other. Can I request everyone to please double check if your microphone is on mute? Right. All the small purple boxes that you see on the screen are all, famous tourist landmarks, institutes of importance, such as the London Eye, the Shard, and so much more. So we are pretty much surrounded by very best that London has to offer, which of course has various benefits attached to it. And it's not just close proximity that we have with these institutes, it's also the connections that we drive through. And London has also been ranked the #1 student city in the world for multiple times in a row now. So that, of course, is due with various reasons. Just to give you a little closer look of a few of our campuses, this is the Strand campus where law, social science, arts, humanities, computer science, and engineering are taught. This is the Guy's campus, which is our medicine school. This is the famous iconic Bush House building, which is which is a business school, and the management courses are taught here. And I'm sure it makes all our alumni feels a little bit nostalgic, seeing things, beautiful buildings on screen. To give you a very, very quick glance about King's, so we were established in 1829. So we have a very, very long history that goes behind us. We are a leading member of the Russell Group. So for those of you who don't know, Russell Group is a group of 24 research-intensive universities in the UK, which are pretty much considered like the Ivy League colleges. So, and we are also top 10 universities in the UK as per the latest QS World Rankings. I know this is a number that Indian students keenly follow. We have very, very successful alumni spread all across the globe, doing great from themselves into different fields and dimensions. So that's we are very, very proud of our alumni, and we've also produced 13 Nobel laureates so far. Again, a fact that we are very, very proud of. With rankings, and I know this question runs a lot with specifically Indian students' minds. So we are top 3 in London, top 10 in the UK, and top 35 in the world as per the latest QS World Rankings 2022. Now, what's on offer? We have close to about 200 courses. So it's of course not possible to put everything on the screen, but you see a barcode that will take you to the course pages on the website. But you can also just go on the King's website and type the course that you're looking for, and also search related courses that will be useful. So just to put this across into 5 broad faculties, it's STEM, health, politics and social science, law, management and business, and arts and humanities. And these are some of the degrees that are under each of these broad faculties just to give you a sense of the kind of degrees that we offer. But again, I will suggest that you do your course research on the website, go through the course page, read through the module, see what's on offer, how it's taught. That'll give you a good research point. And we will also, of course, take help from our alumni to give you some details and insights on how did they zero down on their course and university, which might be useful to you. Now, for entry requirements, I'm not going to go in much detail on this one. So, and I'm assuming all of you are Delhi University students itself today. So for Delhi University, we categorize the DU into highly prestigious universities. So the criteria mentioned in the highly prestigious is what that's relevant for you. And all postgraduate students have to give an English language test, irrespective of what your English scores are or irrespective of where you've done your schooling from. So we need the IELTS, TOEFL, or the PTE, and it is mandatory to meet the specific English language test requirements as well, overall, as well as under each section, because this is a question we get asked a lot. So how to apply for all master's application? It's directly through the King's website. That's the King's Apply. We need, broadly what we need is transcripts, 1 or 2 references, depending on the course, a statement of purpose. Now, what we exactly need for your course, the best place to check that out is the course page on the website. Applications open in October and the deadline is March. And the average processing time, which I know a lot of students ask us over emails, is at least 6 to 8 weeks. Fees and funding details, of course, given on the website as well, so I'm not going to dwell much on it. But for scholarships, again, all the scholarships that are relevant and published will be there on the website under the scholarship section. So that's useful to check out. You can also check out British Council and other third-party scholarships that are available through a Google search. We also have accommodation. So King's has 10 halls of residences. There are also intercollegiate halls available where all University of London students stay together. It, of course, varies with prices, and that's how the contracts are. So you can choose whatever fits in your budget and also fits in your preference. There's lots and lots of private accommodation also available. There's no doubt because we're very centrally located. So there are so many private accommodation options as well. So you can choose those as well if that's something that you prefer. So we also have the Unibody Chat feature. If you still have questions after today's session, you can always drop us an email, which I will be sharing with you in the next slide. But you can also get in touch with students over the Unibody Chat feature. If you go on the King's website, there will be a pop-up box that will come up. And this has students across the globe doing different courses. So you can ask questions about living in London, life at King's, personal statements, course, classrooms teaching, outside classroom teaching, different societies, etc. All sorts of questions. They will be very, very happy to answer. This is our contact details. So if you have any questions after the session today, please feel free to drop us an email at india@kcl.ac.uk. So I'm very, very happy to welcome our three guests today, Ananya, Alka, and Chaya. And please feel free to ask questions to them. That's the entire purpose of the session, is to get you access to our alumni so that they can share insights and answer your questions. So please feel free to do so. And I welcome all our three guests today. And I will be now inviting Ananya first. So if you can just give an introduction, and then we will get on to the session. So thank you so much, everyone, and welcome.
So I'm Ananya, and I graduated from King's in 2018. That's when I finished my master's degree. I have a short presentation that I prepared, which is broken up into different sections, like choosing your program, what factors I considered. So I'm just going to go through each of those in a little bit of detail. So I did a master's in English literature at King's. And I graduated from that in 2018. And I think when you're choosing your program, some of the things that you need to consider is to research your options thoroughly. So look at all of the relevant courses within the department that you're considering. And I would look at each course and what classes are offered on each of those courses and which courses within that program are compulsory, because often there will be some compulsory courses that you have to take as a part of your full program. And then I would say look at things like reading lists and textbooks for each class, because as a master's student, there is quite a bit of choice on what you can study. So I think you should make an informed decision about what you are going to be studying, especially if you can choose it, because it makes the experience a lot more enjoyable if you're studying what you like. And then also, finally, I would make a list of pros and cons for each program, as that might help you in your decision to narrow down which program you want to apply for. I'm not sure if you can apply for multiple programs. You might be able to. That might be something Palak can talk about. But yeah, if you can apply for multiple programs, that might also be an option. So yeah, those are broadly the factors that I considered when I was choosing my program, and I found it quite helpful. And then I think I also knew that I wanted to do a master's in English. So that was something that helped me, because I knew I just had to look at the English department at King's. And I think beyond that, it was based on my research interests, and the program that I eventually enrolled in was quite closely aligned with my own research interests, which helped. And I think one of the other factors was also that King's offered financial aid at the master's level, which I did a master's in arts, and I think that's not offered at a lot of universities, but King's did offer it, and I think it was called the King's India Scholarship. I don't know if King's still offers that, but if it does, it is a good thing to keep in mind, because I did end up getting it, and I think that helped considerably. It's just something to keep in mind. So I think academic life at King's is quite interesting, especially as a master's student. There are much smaller classes, and at least on my course, it was quite a discussion-oriented setting where there was quite a bit of debate and discussion and interaction expected between peers and professors. Some classes, like I said, are highly interactive, and your opinion is not only valued, but it's also required. But in other settings, lecturers might give a lecture first and then have a discussion afterwards. So it can vary, it depends. From what I remember, I had both of those setups. Another thing to keep in mind was that most classes were on average 2 hours long with a break of 5 to 10 minutes in between. And I think for my course, this was pretty standard. So every single class that I took had the same format. I think that was pretty standard. Again, this won't be typical on all courses at the master's level at King's, but I had no exams. I only had very lengthy papers to write, which are also called coursework in the UK. And they were typically due at the end of each term. So that's something, I think that would be another thing to keep in mind when you're choosing your course. Look at how it's examined. So the course page will normally say at the end of the course how it's examined. So in English, it was examined only at the end of each term, but other courses might have midterm exams or midterm papers. That's just something I think that is quite important to keep in mind. If you know, for example, that you don't examine well, but you prefer writing papers, that would just be something to be wary of. Especially because you can choose. I think it's a good idea to choose based on your based on how you know you examine or how you know you like to be examined. My course had a thesis to write in, and I think that's pretty standard in all humanities courses. And that was due at the end of the year. And I think it was due in August or September, so a full year after I began my course. I also had a literature review, which was due before the thesis, and I think that was due around May or June of that year. But yeah, that's just something also to expect, that you might be required to write a thesis of anywhere between 10 to 20,000 words, depending on what course you're in. I think I would also like to talk a bit about the non-academic life, just because, like Palak mentioned, King's is in central London, and I think London is such a great city, but also it's being a student in London is probably unlike any other student experience. I think coming from DU, you might be aware of this because you're coming from another city. So it's not, King's has various campuses across London, but it's not one consistent campus that will be located in one location. And I personally love that. I love the fact that it has all these different campuses in various parts of London, and depending on what you're studying and what electives you have, like Palak said, you might be able to, take classes at more than one campus. I was at the Strand campus, and I think that's close to some of London's biggest landmarks, and I really personally enjoyed that. And I don't think I would, if I thinking about it, I don't think I would change the experience I had. So I wouldn't choose a campus university over King's. I think it mainly, this is because we were in London, and there was so many cultural opportunities like museums and theaters and cafes, and I think you get the full experience if you take advantage of it. And I would really encourage you to do that if you do have the opportunity to come to London. There are lots of great day trips you can also take if you have the chance to do that. King's also has a lot of societies, which again, I would encourage you to, try out different societies. I'm pretty sure there's a trial period at the beginning of the year for each society, and it's a great way of meeting people that are not on your course or that are from different campuses. And it's also a great way to get involved in King's in a non-academic way. So yeah, I would highly encourage that as well. I think the final thing about non-academic life related to King's is that they have so many events and so many speakers. I think the presentation showed Hillary Clinton, but there's many more, and I think it's a great opportunity. And they're all free for students, so you don't have to pay for any of that. And I think it's an amazing way to sort of take full advantage of being in London at King's. And then moving on to like certain tips and, things that helped me along the way, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is that I did have a part-time job, and on a student visa, I don't know if this has changed, but when I was a student, you're allowed to work a certain number of hours a week and get paid for it. So I did have a part-time job, and I found that this really helped me with my finances. And if you manage your time well, it is completely doable. Because in my timetable, I sort of had a few days in a week where I didn't have any classes or seminars, and it allowed me to do other things as long as I managed my time well. I would also say get a national rail card if you expect to travel to other parts of the country by train. It's I think they have one for students under 26, and then they have one for people between 26 and 30, depending on what your age is. And it's a great way of saving money on train tickets. You have to pay for it, but then your savings often outweigh the cost of the card itself. So that's just something to keep in mind. You can also get a student Oyster card for traveling within London on the Underground and by bus. And the thing about the student Oyster card is you can get a monthly pass, which are expensive because you have to pay a lump sum at the beginning of each month, but then you do end up saving money. So that's just something to consider as well. If you like cycling, you can get a year pass, which is very reasonable. There's a Boris bikes, which are you can go all over London on them. I would just, one thing to be sort of cautious about is that make sure you're comfortable cycling in a city that has a lot of traffic and a lot of buses. Also, I would say all of the permanent collections at museums in London are free. So unless you go see a special exhibition, you won't have to pay anything. And I think that's another thing about London that is so, so special, because not all museums in the world are like that. And then if there are paid events, especially at CSO for plays or even museums for ticketed events, everyone will have a concessions ticket for students. So you pay much less than the standard price. So just make sure you bring your student ID everywhere. And then if the weather allows it, I would say just walk everywhere. London is a walking city and it's so beautiful, and it saves you so much money as well, because travel can be expensive. It does add up. So yeah, I think that was my experience of London and King's. And yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything. I think it's been amazing to get to experience that. And yeah, I would do it all again if I could.
Great. Thank you so much, Ananya, for sharing those micro insights. I think I'll also save my questions for the end once everybody is done sharing their stories with us. And I'm sure we will also take questions from students at the end. So I think we can get our next speaker on stage. Alka, if you would want to come in first.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. My name is Alka and I'm a lawyer practicing at the Delhi High Court. I am an alumnus of Delhi University and King's College London, and I look forward to interacting with all of you today. Before we move on, I would like to make a special mention that this is a rather happy coincidence for me, considering that I did study at Hindu College for my undergrad. So I have been born and brought up in Delhi. I completed my schooling from Sanskriti School, Chanakyapuri, and I went on to pursue my graduation in English literature from Hindu College. Immediately after that, I studied law from the Faculty of Law, Delhi University. So I have been a Delhi University student for 6 years. So I completed my LLB in 2013, and I've been practicing law since then. So I've roughly completed about a decade in the legal profession. And I recently obtained a Master of Laws degree, which is an LLM in International Corporate and Commercial Laws from King's College London. Now, I believe I'm given to understand that you are all final year students or second year students at Delhi University. So I guess this is the time when you would be at a stage in life where you're in the process of making a very important decision, which is what next? And I'm sure that exploring foreign education is amongst the top few choices for future prospects for all of you aspiring students, which brings us to our topic of discussion today. So I would like to begin by highlighting a few things that I kept in mind and that I encourage all of you to keep in mind while deciding your student journey going forward from Delhi University to global prospects. The first thing that I would say would be to earmark the factors that are the most important to you. You can identify some points by drawing into other people's experiences, but you must note this list has to be specific to you and your own individual priorities. This could be ranking, faculty, location of campus, the fee, placements, scholarships, culture, even the valuation of institution in your own home country, which is not really a problem with King's College considering the presentation that Palak just gave. And I'm sure you're all aware of world rankings for King's College London. So what this will do is that it will help you focus your efforts and energy into the right direction. Now, once this is identified, we can come to the next factor, which is to be thorough with your research, which is also the speaker before me highlighted. Is that an echo? Okay. So my advice to you in this aspect would be to not rush through this process. I would really recommend doing an exhaustive and in-depth research. So a hurdle that I commonly come to be aware of, especially in Delhi University students, is that overseas education is intimidating and overwhelming given the amount of information and just the mere number of options that we have. Well, my suggestion to all of you in this respect would be to take your own time, conduct a detailed research till you are comfortable with your understanding of the global prospects that lie ahead of you. Education is just one, but perhaps the most important facet of ensuring that you maximize your time, your potential. I'm sorry, just a moment, just allow me. Sorry. So I was saying that education is just one, but perhaps the most important facet of ensuring that you maximize your time, your potential, and all your resources to the fullest. Now, once these key factors have been identified for you to focus upon, you can think about points like which universities or which schools fulfill your criteria, what are the requirements for admission to such a school, how many entry points are there in a year, what is the study model like, what is the academic and other support like, is there a language barrier in the country you are seeking to study in. Some of you may also want to settle abroad, so you can consider local job opportunities or the competition in your specific area of expertise in the country. Once you're done with these two things, the third factor that is really important is to ask yourself what you are seeking to achieve through your foreign education. So it's really important to know your own personal goals and what path you are seeking to achieve towards the advancement of your career. Fourthly, and something that is really important, and it's something that I see very rare attention to, is the acknowledgement that student life is a continuous trajectory. So work experience is an equally important part of learning, and this is especially important for master's students. You must acknowledge that we remain students for our entire lives, and we're constantly learning from opportunities and experiences. Now, there are some programs that require prior working experience, but some do not. This is specifically with regard to master's programs, and having a practical working knowledge of your subject area is always an added asset. I again encourage you to not underestimate the importance of work experience before starting your further study. It could even be helpful in narrowing down to the area of interest which you want to pursue your master's in. For me, for example, I practiced law for almost 7 years before pursuing a master's. It really helped me understand which area of law I ultimately want to practice in, which was international corporate and commercial law. And hence it helped me in really narrowing down to the course I ultimately did. So in exploring our future prospects, it is not necessary to be limited to certain combinations of study. We must look above and beyond to zero down on what suits us individually and what works best for our own personal goals and ambitions. This is very close to my heart and very close to my own personal experience. So I'm going to circle back to this at the end of the presentation, at the end of my talk. The next thing that you must consider is whether you're building any practical skills. You have to ask yourself, is the course curriculum going to help you perform better at your job? Will you be able to develop insights into a broader scheme of things? These things are equally important to consider. The next and the last thing is, how much time are you going to be able to give to your studies? Now you have to consider whether you will be studying full-time or part-time. Can you attend classes when they are actually happening in real time, or would you prefer recorded lectures, which may fit better into your schedule? So this is just a short list of factors that in my opinion, you must consider while choosing a college. But sorry, is there an echo? Can you
No,
please
it's
confirm? I can hear
fine.
an echo.
It's fine, Alka. I think somebody must have unmuted, but it's good for now. No.
I'm sorry. All right. Okay. So as I said, I am an alumnus of King's College London. And the next thing I would like to speak to you about is my experience with zeroing down on King's, as well as my time in life while I was pursuing my master's program. Now, like I said before, I have pursued an LLM in international corporate and commercial law, and my studies took place 100% online. This is not to say that I could not access the libraries or I could not visit the campus, but what made my experience even richer was the fact that I could do it at my own pace. I could study from anywhere at any time, and that made it really helpful for me to balance everything. So this was a regular master's for me with the requisite flexibility for a working professional. Now, there are a few things which had been of prime importance to me while I was choosing an institution. For starters, my personal agenda was to get in as many years of working experience as possible without having to break my career to pursue further studies. I don't know how many of you would be interested in law or how many of you would be aware of this, but pursuing a master's is not a requisite to my profession. So the decision really rested upon whether I could actually pursue my studies while also pursuing my career, or would I have to give a break? Possibly, I would not have pursued a master's if I did not get the option of studying 100% online. In simple words, I was just seeking to achieve best of both worlds, and King's provided the perfect answer. Some of you may be aware that the Dixon Poon School of Law is among the world's premier law schools. The curriculum offered was in line with my personal goals. The many entry points in a year, they have 6 entry points in a year, which gave me the flexibility to apply at ease. And additionally, and the greatest advantage for me was that it was a course designed specially for working professionals, so it checked all my boxes. Faculty for me was also one of the topmost factors. And at King's, we are taught at the Dixon Poon School of Law, we are taught by world's leading academics and lawyers with decades of commercial expertise. Another plus point that came for me was the way the curriculum is framed. It was based on real life examples and occurrences on a global level. So that has really helped me in my practice. Now, like I said, the Dixon Poon School of Law is one of the top 20 law schools in the world. And when I was considering, when I was doing the research for my master's, the main thing that held center stage for me was being able to continue my education without compromising on professional life. In my opinion, I feel that sometimes honing your skills may actually become a deterrent to your professional life if you have to take a break from it. However, since this master's allowed me to pursue my studies along with not giving a break in my career, it just checked all my boxes. And this option actually enhanced my productivity by enabling me to study as well as work at the same time. Sorry, I can hear some disturbance.
Can I please request everybody to please double check if your microphone is on mute? It really creates a lot of disturbance for somebody who's speaking. So please double check your microphone is on mute at all times. Yeah, you can go ahead, Akka. Sorry.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I had been exploring the options for my master's for a good 10 to 12 months before I finally zeroed down on King's, because this was the one program where nothing about it made me skeptical. The faculty was perfectly in line with what I was wishing for. The grading system ensures that participation is continuous, and the flexibility just provided a much needed peace of mind. Because let's be honest, I mean, sometimes you cannot strike the perfect balance. Work or study, either one has to take precedence over the other, or just, sometimes just life happens. So you have to give priority to one thing over the other. And the flexibility was an added plus point for me. I had to ensure that all my time was fairly divided between all my commitments, which was work, study, family, other personal commitments. The assessments took place thrice every 6 weeks, which was by way of a discussion forum. So that really encouraged participation from everybody, as well as allowed me to network with like-minded professionals from across the world. Each module lasted for 6 weeks, and at the end of 6 weeks, there is the main summative assessment, which is basically an essay type assessment. Now, for some of the modules, we had 2 weeks, and for some of the modules, we had just 2 days, which was exactly 48 hours, which was more like a take-home exam. In the duration of the course, I came to realize that a huge amount of pressure is associated with tight deadlines, especially in the face of adverse and compelling circumstances. Now, King's also worked for me in this aspect because it gave me an option to complete the course within 2 to 6 years. So there was an advantage of flexibility to defer a module or to not take an exam without actually suffering in the longer run. So in case there is an unfortunate circumstance or an unforeseen circumstance, for example, I was pursuing my master's while COVID was going on. So I'm sure all of you know how cruel especially the COVID second wave was. So in case of an unfortunate circumstance, there was always the option of deferring. Fortunately, I did not have to do that, and I managed my time accordingly. This is also something that I must be grateful for to King's, because the support system is great, especially for a student who is not on campus. The accessibility to your student success advisor, to your faculty, makes your experience much more smooth and much richer. Sorry, just now coming to my journey beyond King's and how a foreign education helped me in where I am at life today. I would say that for my career of choice, it is not really about employment opportunities in the conventional sense, but it's more about a practical skill building to take on more complex matters and be able to tackle better opportunities and challenges. For those seeking internship and employment opportunities, there is a community called King's Careers and Employability, wherein some experts can help you with chasing your dream career path. However, since I have my own independent practice of law after my study at King's, the quality of my work has most definitely, I feel it has elevated. I can take on more challenging sort of jobs. It has also allowed me to develop an insight into the global legal system and its influence on national and international policy making. A great advantage has come to me by aiding me in building a transnational practice. I have been exposed to several transnational legal opportunities that earlier would either have not been possible, or even if it was, I would have probably not had a mature skill set to deal with it. I have learned a lot by focus on real life situations in the curriculum, which I don't know if it is specific to the course I did, or it runs true for all the master's courses, but this is something I really gained from, and I now find it much more relatable to deal with complicated propositions. The last thing that I would really say is worthy of appreciation is that King's allows you to build your own global network. Networking is encouraged, and one can connect with like-minded professionals from across the globe, which otherwise is next to impossible. You also have access to some of the best resources, some of the best libraries, apart from being a part of one of the richest alumni communities in the world. Overall, I feel that I have benefited by way of a broader outlook on and a much better understanding of international corporate and commercial laws, which is basically what I sought to achieve. I guess that would be it from my end. I hope this was helpful, and I hope it proves fruitful for you in some way or the other. I will be happy to answer any questions later, or if any of you have any questions, you can reach out to me on the Hindu College alumni community, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn later. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alka. Thank you. That was really, really helpful. And this did give me also a lot of insights. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure we will have a lot of questions towards the end of the presentation. I will now like to invite our final guest. Chaya, are you there on the call? Chaya, are you there on the call? I'm not sure if Chaya has joined in, but right, I think we can start with questions. Till then, if you have Chaya, then we will be very, very happy to hear her story as well. So right now, Tanish, do we have any questions from the audience as of now? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chandra and Ms. Chojar. It was really insightful to hear both of you. And I'm sure the audience has many questions, but so that this would be the standard protocol for the questions. So I understand that not all participants have the permission to speak. So how we'll go about this is, if anyone has a question, please raise your virtual hand, so to say, the option on Zoom, so that then the moderators can recognize that you have a question and we can go ahead with it. But before we take any external questions, I would like to take this privilege of being the organizer today and ask a very important question that has been, in my head since the session started. And this question is for Ms. Chojar, who is now on course to becoming a very respected personality in her field and make our college proud. So as someone who's contemplating about the unpredictable future in law and similar areas, my question for you, ma'am, is it's generally regarded, and please correct me if I'm not wrong, sorry if I'm wrong, it's regarded that law is not a level playing field, and personal connections and contacts really matter. So as someone who has literally no connections in this sphere and knows no one in the field, how would you actually uh, make a pathway so that you have enough experience to get admitted in eminent foreign institutes?
Firstly, I would just like to address this by saying that it's a common misconception that you need to have connections to get through the field of law or to make a mark in the field of law. I am myself a first generation professional, and at least I can speak for the lawyers in Delhi, that it is a very warm community. It's a very small community, but it's a very warm community. Firstly, and secondly, I would just say that you have to work really, really hard. You have to know the direction that your career path is taking. Don't confuse that with knowing today what direction your career path might take. Like I said in my presentation as well, I practiced general litigation for a good 7 years before I knew what I wish to specialize in. Once I knew that, I went on to conduct my research, and like the points I highlighted, I followed the same it was a 6-point factor that I followed in the order that I mentioned it in, and that really helped me zero down to an institution like King's. And I would not say it's very difficult to achieve something once that's exactly what you're working towards. I spent almost an entire year researching on what I wanted to study. And my focus was not only on international opportunities. I also explored law colleges in India as well as abroad. But I found King's to be the best, not only in terms of ranking and faculty, but also in the support that that was guaranteed throughout student life, and plus the option of studying while working. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So we also have a few questions in the chat box. And these are general questions, so maybe even Ms. Palak could take them, or otherwise, if she prefers that the alumni answer them, so that is good as well. So the first question is,
Scholarships, yeah, I did read that, Tanish. I think I'll just moderate questions. If
okay.
you're okay with it. So, with scholarships and financial aid, basically, I did touch upon this in my presentation as well. So, all of the information regarding scholarship that King's has on offer is available on the King's website under the scholarship section for postgraduate students, and all the scholarships mentioned also has details next to it. What is the criteria, how will this be administered, etc. And this information gets updated on the website throughout the year, so we usually start updating it towards the end of the calendar year, and then it keeps getting updated. So just keep an eye out on that. If you're looking for scholarships, King's is not very generous with scholarships, I would say. So you can also do a thorough research and run a Google search and see British Council website, which usually has a comprehensive list of scholarships available, or also other third-party organizations and companies that offer scholarships. So that might be a useful research to do. Like Alka has also emphasized enough, there is a lot of research that needs to be done before making a study abroad decision. So, course choice, destination study, studying in a campus versus city university, scholarship courses. So a lot of it is, scholarship is also part of that research, I would say. Nothing is given on a platter if you're choosing a study abroad destination. So all of that will factor in with your research. So that's about scholarships from me. So we have a question about what would be the internships and part-time opportunities. So I will request both the alums to answer this, but I will just answer the visa part of it because I think Ananya had a doubt with it. So it's still the same. You can work on your student visa. It's 20 hours per week during term time and 40 hours non-term time. So that is what is allowed for you to work on a student visa. King's also helps with getting you part-time opportunities. Of course, as assistants available, you can also work at King's at various departments such as student ambassadors, etc. So that is also available. But I heard Ananya had done her internship, so if she could throw some light on this, and also if there's any bit that you would want to add, Alka, based on whatever experience you've had in so many years, that will be useful.
So I would say I got I had a part-time job which I wouldn't class as an internship. It was entirely to help me with my finances a little bit, and I think I worked 3 times a week term time for a few hours every day. Not too many hours. I think 3 hours 3 times a week. So that was my part-time job. I got this not through King's, but it was through someone I knew who helped me get the job. I would say, like Alka mentioned, there is King's Careers and Employability, and I did use that service. So I think you set up an appointment with them, and then they help you go through your CV, and they discuss what opportunities might be best in terms of what you're looking for. And then I think they also have another service which includes like a list of all internships and opportunities that are available to students through their website, and you can apply for those directly as a King student. And I think that's a service that I would definitely recommend using. I didn't get an internship through that, although I did have another internship, but I from what I remember, that was a great service just to know what was out there and what kind of opportunities you could get as a student. So that would be my insight into that.
Right. Thank you so much, Ananya. Also, sorry, Alka.
If I could just add here. So like I said, I wasn't exactly looking for internship or employment opportunities, though I did come across King's Career and Employability, which I explored for a brief period of time because I was considering I was considering taking up a job somewhere during COVID time. If I just felt if it continues for longer, there's no harm in exploring your opportunities. So that's the maximum exposure I have to internships and employment. But the other thing that I'd also say that the network that I have built through King's it's not an official opportunity provided by Kings or through the platform of Kings. But I think that great employment and internship opportunities also come from your peers across the world. So that's something you could lay your focus on.
Great, thank you so much. I'll also add one point here is that a lot of students also end up into job opportunities, internships through being part of student societies. So networking is a big, big thing in London, which a lot of Indian students don't really realize. Be a part of these societies and clubs and, get involved with people. There are a lot of opportunities that are hosted by the placements team to organize guest lectures. There are internship weeks and fairs and networking nights, etc. So be a part of those, be out there and avail of these opportunities, build your network. And that is really, really helpful in a lot of spheres of your life. So yeah, Tanishwari, you were saying something?
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, I think one of the attendees have raised their hand, so maybe we can ask them to unmute themselves and ask the question. Shreya, please ask your question. Shreya, can you hear us? Right, so maybe we can take Sakshi now. Sakshi, I see that you have raised your virtual hand. So if you have a question, please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, hello, ma'am, and hello, everybody. So my question is that whenever we look for an international scholarship or a program, there are a lot of searches, and we get confused at what skill we want to grab and what financial aid we need. We face a lot of trouble regarding to verify what actually we want. So how to clarify that cloud?
Sorry, I didn't really quite get your question. So is this regarding scholarship and skill matching, or is it regarding choosing your course
Exactly.
and skill matching?
It is regarding the skill and the financial matching which we are looking for.
So that's what with research around financials available. So there are some financials which will be available on merit basis. Some will be based on demographics. Some will be based on certain prerequisites that you already possess. So when you do a research, you have to figure out. So for example, if a certain university or a third party is offering a scholarship, that could be if you have a certain percentage in your academic years, or it could be automatically given if you are from a certain domicile, etc. So all of that will be mentioned in the scholarship. Now, of course, it's on you to figure out if it is relevant for you or not. That is why it takes a lot of research to see what is relevant, because of course there's a lot on offer, but if it's actually matching what you want is something that you will have to do with your research. So if that answers your question to an extent. Yeah, Ananya, you want to add something there?
Yeah, I can just add my own experience about applying for a scholarship at King's. I think from what I remember, I had to fill out a form. I had to write another personal statement over and above my application statement. And there were also questions about financials as well as my previous grades. And so I think it was a mix of both a need basis as well as based on merit. So I think I had to supply quite a bit of information. And the way I narrowed down which scholarships to apply for was by going through the King Scholarship and Financial Aid page and seeing which eligibility criteria fit my own. And I think I was only eligible for one scholarship in the end, which I ended up getting. But I think what you said, Palak, about like identifying all the other scholarships that are not based through King's is also quite important, because it gives you access to a much wider pool of finances. And you can do that through a quick Google search. Normally there'll be like an article on the British Council page saying which scholarships are open to Indian applicants and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I wasn't eligible for any of those, so I didn't apply. But it will take time, and I think doing your research is probably the only way of working through all that information.
Great, thank you so much for adding that. Of course, first-hand experience always useful. I think we've hit time, Tanish. Is that correct?
Maybe right, but maybe
Yeah.
if we take one last question.
Yeah, we'll take one last question. Yeah.
So the
Am I
question
audible?
is,
Sorry, who's that?
I was asked to unmute.
right,
Yeah, sure.
please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is that apart from internships in societies and clubs, also the answers that we write in the application forms are also important. So I want to know what is the weightage of the answers we give in the application form, and is it more important than the straight A's that are required in our semester exams during the graduation?
Right.
And
So if we,
club it with the other question in the chat box, if that's possible, ma'am.
which is,
It's about research grants at master's level. Is there any provision?
yeah, so Dolan has already posted a link for that in the chat box. So that has been answered.
Right.
So to answer Shreya's question, if you mean answers in the application form, I think you're referring to the personal statement here. So there is no one thing important than the other, I would say. All the application that King's is judged holistically. So Square, the scores that you have, that is just a prerequisite. So you have to meet the minimum entry requirement scores. So for your application to be considered, and that's, like I said, just a prerequisite. Now, over and above that, if you, for a quality application, it is very important that you submit a great personal statement. And of course, references are equally important for the courses that require references. So if you're applying for example, an MSc International Marketing course, then you would require a writing piece. So all of the additional requirements over and above the entry requirement scores, of course, is important, and it contributes for your application to stand out. So yeah, that's from me on this. So I hope all the questions are answered for whatever we've had. And yeah, I don't think there is any unanswered question. Great. So on this, I mean, I think we've hit the time. So thank you so much, Ananya and Alka, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Dolan, for answering the questions in the chat box. It's been a pleasure to be a part of sessions organized by Hindu Always. The attendees are great. It's a lot of enthusiasm with, and all these questions, of course, add to, it's a testament of all the enthusiasm that's there. So it's always great to answer these questions, and of course, whatever is possible in the time limit that we have. But of course, our association with Hindu is ongoing, so we will do another session again in sometime in the near future. So thank you so much, Tanish, for organizing, and thank you so much, Ananya and Alka, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I think I'm eternally grateful to Hindu College and King's College London. So this is a great opportunity for me to give back to the institutions that have really helped shape my career trajectory today and who I am as a person. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Once again, I want to thank the alumni for joining us today, as well as Palak ma'am for her able words of guidance and helping us out with the important subject matter at hand, foreign education, and how to make it to elite institutions and the world's best institutions. So it was it was actually a pleasure listening to both of you, and I'm sure that everyone had something to take. And it was also an honor to have this conversation with Ms. Tojer, who is a recent graduate of our college. So hopefully, ma'am, we can get in touch further, and maybe you could guide us even more and help us out with a few other nitty-gritties of this subject and maybe other subjects as well. So lastly, I want to just thank everyone for joining on behalf of the administration of Hindu College. And I'm sure today's session was fruitful for everyone in the chain. And lastly, I just want to reaffirm the fact that this partnership with King's College London is very fruitful for us. And hopefully in the near future, we have similar events in the pipeline and more to come. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. A recording of the session will be available on YouTube. So for those who could not attend because of other constraints and things like that, can watch it on YouTube as well. So thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.